So President Trump is in quite a bit of hurry to finish his wall before the election. Now, at this point, it's not really much of a wall, uh, more like replacement fencing. Although he is one of the big plans is to build 30-foot tall steel fencing. Okay, so now the president, in order to fund this steel fencing, which by the way has to have spikes on it and painted black. I'm not kidding. I did a report on that last week. He is taking money from different places in order to pay for the wall, since Congress will not appropriate the funds themselves. So now the latest bit of money would come from the military. Defense Secretary Mark Esper notified members of Congress earlier this week that he would take about $3.6 billion dollars from military construction projects to build 175 more miles of wall along the border uh, with Mexico. Now, a lot of projects, again, you might think, oh, good, take it from the military. They don't need it, right? Well, oh, look, when you're talking about bombing brown people in Afghanistan and Iraq, sure, absolutely. Or supporting actions in Yemen, totally. But this money actually is for local projects. Let me give you an example. One of them would be a new school on an army base, Fort Campbell. So Fort Campbell was supposed to get from this funding a new middle school. Donald Trump says, nope, I'm going to take that money. So let me give you the conditions inside the school, right? Now, 552 students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades will now have to cram into classrooms that are over 30 people to a room and classrooms within classrooms. Now, I know it sounds amazing, right? You got a classroom and a classroom, which means you've got people overlapping each other on lessons, even different grades. I mean, it's complete and utter insanity. That's really hard to learn. So you have that. You also have heating and cooling issues. Sometimes these rooms are too hot. Sometimes they're too cold, depending on if the AC or the heater is working correctly. Leaking roofs. Look at the school is an absolute disaster. They needed a new middle school, but Trump took the money and said, no, I'm going to use it to keep brown people out. So, also, again, he could build his ridiculous vanity wall in order to get points from from sections of his incredibly racist base. So now, what's interesting about this story is there are residents in some of the areas where they're planning to build these sections of fence that actually don't want it. Now, let me give an example. Texas resident Shirley Menard. Now, she said she reluctantly voted for Trump in 2016. Uh, she got a letter back in July that saying that the federal government plans to build a 30-foot tall barrier right in her backyard. Oops. Right in her backyard. Now, she said, she told the New York Times, quote, I never thought they'd go through a subdivision. My blood pressure has not been normal since I got that letter. Well, I can imagine seeing a giant, eventually seeing a giant wall cut through your backyard. I'm guessing she's part of the NIMBY crowd. In this case, I guess I don't blame her. Now, not only that, but other residents in the border town of Brownsville, Texas, have been surprised to learn that Trump's wall will actually divide the local River Bend Resort and Golf Club. Now, that's not a country club, it's a living community for older adults. That wall would cut it right in half. In fact, the Times reports that about 70% of the community, some 200 properties, would be stranded south of the barricade, but north of the river, the Rio Grande. Riverbend resident Jerry Olson tells the Times the plan for the wall are, quote, throwing an upheaval onto us while adding that none of us at our age need the additional stress. It's throwing an upheaval onto us. We're upheaved. Despite being upheaved and stressed out, Olson says, I might still vote for Trump. That's amazing. That's super amazing. Oh, you know what? This wall, terrible idea. Oof. Upheaving our community. If only they were to put it in a different place. But I still will vote for Trump. Wow. Now there's one person in this report, Avi Greenslit, who says, "Look, I voted for Trump in 2016, but what's going on in my community? Well, that's making me not vote for Donald Trump. In fact, she said he's not going to get my vote in 2020. I guess building a wall isn't such a great thing when it affects you, is it? Again, every one of these people profiled who voted for Donald Trump, even reluctantly, they knew what they were voting for. She could have voted for Jill Stein. Better than a vote for Trump, right? Much better than a vote for Trump. And so, look, she still voted for him, and that's what she gets. Now that it, of course, and I love the attitude. Now that it's negatively affecting them, suddenly they're shocked. Like, oh my God, this is not what I voted for. No, it was. It was. You voted to have Donald Trump build this ridiculous vanity wall to keep the brown people out, who, by the way, walked thousands of miles, running from literal death, going through the desert in order to get here to try to have a piece of the American dream. You're mad that you have a wall in your backyard. Compare your situation to theirs. I have no sympathy. That's why I have no sympathy. And I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this, you probably don't either. This comes back to people basically not having any sort of empathy unless it affects them personally. We've seen it with the farmers, we've seen it with the truckers, and now with some of these people in border towns who are like, oh my God, I didn't think he was actually serious. No, he was serious. And now he's double serious because his economy is flailing and his poll numbers are disastrous. But no, you voters, you were so eager to try to keep out the others that you're hurting yourselves. And now you've got the audacity to complain. Well, forgive us if we don't feel sorry for you. We warned you. We told you this was going to happen. But in the end of the day, you made your bed. And now it's time for you to lie in it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.